Hello and welcome, this is rooflemonger, and in today's video we will be talking about some characters that could use a little bit of love in Dragon Ball FighterZ, as we have with several other characters before. And today we will be talking about Zamasu. Now Zamasu is in a weird spot here because unlike some of the other characters we covered, you know, like say Videl, Jiren, he's not outright just bad, right? He's got some stuff to look forward to, some stuff to work with, but the problem is he's got nothing really special about him, and the things that should be very special about him, well, they're not that great, and a lot of the basic stuff he has that, you know, needs to work, like say a basic ki blast, right? It's kinda really bad. So hey, let's talk about it. So as with some of the other videos in this series here, let's butter you up first before we talk about some of the bad stuff, right? And you know, for Zamasu, there is good stuff. One of the problems here, actually, let's talk about flight first, because, you know, it's definitely his most unique feature. This is a feature that's kind of gotten worse over time as more characters and more concepts were introduced to the game. That we'll talk about in the more bad section, but let's talk about, you know, why flight is cool. Flight in Dragon Ball FighterZ for Zamasu is one of the few ways you can truly just start burning time, right? Say you burn some assists here and you want your assists to regenerate. As long as you got a magical number, and that magical number is 3, as long as you got 3 bars, man, it is a very deadly thing to do to try to challenge you on that. And why is that such a factor, you might ask? Well, you know, hey, you can totally just super dash at him. Like, he's not invulnerable to super dash. The one positive thing I guess you can say is, just like anything else, you will retain your extra air action after blocking a super dash, which is a core game mechanic. But here's the thing, if you got that 3rd bar, any rando super dash is now subject to a reaction test of you just doing your aerial level 3 and taking half their life bar for it, right? So if you got that 3 bars to work with, yeah, man, maybe they want to punish you for flitting around, but it's a really risky prospect, because if you get called out, man, you're done. That's it. You're gonna take a lot of damage, and either you're gonna spark immediately to get that blue health back, or just whatever. But you know, you got called out and you look stupid for it, and then at that point you are much less inclined to challenge it. And then all of a sudden, like, you know, hey, then he gets to regenerate assists all day. You can just, you know, do light, low level harassment, that kind of stuff. So in that, flight has always been kind of interesting. Another fun and cool thing about Zamasu is he is one of the very few characters in this game that can still do multiple supers in a combo and not have it scale. So if you do the Blades of Judgment super, and then you can do like whatever combo afterwards, and then go into his level 1, there is no additional scaling at all. You will get the full damage for all of it. And in fact, after Blades of Judgment, you can usually get a couple extra hits, right? So let me just show you a quick combo example.
I will show you the power of divine light.
And there you have it, right? And it's not even particularly difficult to set up. A bunch of different assists will let you get it. And I'm sure if you're like a really smart Zamasu player, which I am not, there's probably even a couple ways to do it solo, right? But yeah, so he is a character that can do multiple level 1 supers by himself, no additional scaling. It's a pretty exclusive club. Hey, he's got an auto combo grab ender. So enemies set to block everything all fine and dandy, and still can get him, right? So there's a lot of fun little gimmicks and gigaws you can do stuff with this, especially with a low block stun assist, like one quick example here. So there you go, they're blocking just fine. Everything is set to block all, as you can see here. If I can find it, there we go. So guard all, and I can still bypass it because the freeze assist, B assist is very low block stun, and then the block stun goes away, and then hey, all of a sudden you get grabbed, right? And there's a bunch of setups for this for basically every character that has a grab as an auto combo ender, so having that is always cool. He also has setups if you have very high block stun assists, where you can Tiger Knee the flight, and you are flying like right off the ground, versus if you do it normally, you go very high up. And then you basically immediately put them in a little bit of a mix-up blender. So like here we are, basic flight, immediately cancel it, go into jumping light. So that's a high, it's an overhead, you have to block that standing. Conversely, same deal, and just land and go for a low. And then to finish it off here, we can do TK flight, canceled air dash into another overhead, right? So there's effectively no real way to consistently block this kind of setup. At some point, you do kind of have to guess and go off some of your better judgment. And of course, there's also multiple layers of like, just do it, land, like DR, you know, like all this kind of fun stuff, right? So that's cool. Of course, it's very assist dependent, and he needs high block stun assist to pull that kind of stuff off. Now, the cool stuff is pretty cool, right? Like, that is neat, but the problem is a lot of it is just kind of mediocre. Nothing really grandstands, nothing overwhelming. Like, even, say, compared to a Vegito, right? Nothing he has is as overwhelming as a simple Vegito stand light, right? Let alone all the other cool stuff Vegito has, you know, great assist, you know, just great. A lot of stuff, honestly. But yeah, so he has nothing that's overwhelming in any one regard to make him really stand out, and he's got a lot of issues. And let's talk issue number one, the bullet, as far as I'm concerned. Season 3 of Dragon Ball FighterZ being the most neutral heavy season of the game's history. Having a good Ki Blast is part of having a good neutral. And his Ki Blast is kind of to begin with. And you know what, there's other people who have single hitting Ki Blast and that's whatever. But the problem is basically when it comes to smaller characters and ducking. So if we duck very quickly here, we'll just set them to crouch. Alright. Goes over their head, right? Which is an issue in block strings as well, because if they're doing, you know, basic block string, oh hey, I don't get to use that as part of my block string, right? And it's even worse against all the small characters in the game.
Rats, we're rats, we're the rats. We pray at night, we stalk at night, we're the rats.
I'm the giant rat that makes all of the rules.
Let's see what kind of trouble we can get ourselves into.
So yeah, against a lot of these smaller characters in the game, they can approach Zamasu with somewhat of an air of impunity. Like, yeah, the big charge blade, sure, whatever, that'll still get them. But, you know, that takes time to charge up and all that stuff, right? So, yeah, like, you know, GT Goku, Teen Gohan, or whatever, they can approach on the ground pretty easily, and there's not too much he can do it because he can't deter him with a basic Ki Blast, right? Like, it's such a core building block of any character in the game for, like, space control, just general neutral, and his is just so bad, right? And he can't deter a lot of the scarier characters from the game coming at him at all because it goes over their head. So, yeah, his Ki Blast is rotten, and it does contribute to the fact why he's not one of the better characters in the game. Now, we talked earlier in the video how Flight kind of got worse over time. Like, the move itself never got worse, right? You can still fly around all you want, but the problem is the airspace has gotten more crowded as, you know, the seasons went on, right? We got more and more characters that can actually work against a lot of the space in the top corner of the screen. It is not as difficult to reach there as it used to be back in the day. And also, you know, general space control and, you know, theory on space control, a lot of people are better at it, right? So just chilling and, you know, flying around, it just isn't as attractive a thing as it used to be. And with that said, the offense from Flight has never been particularly scary, right? The best thing about Flight was you can just kind of sit and regenerate assists, and there wasn't too much the other guy can do to stop it. But now, you know, with so many extra moves and a lot of people just understand how the game works a lot better, it just isn't as an attractive option. And with all that said, those two options specifically kind of ties into the bigger thing. Once again, Season 3 of Dragon Ball FighterZ is the most neutral heavy season of this game's history. And Zamasu's neutral is just not amazing. Once again, basic Ki Blast is bad, straight up. Aerial Ki Blast, you know, kind of whatever. And yeah, you can do it from Flight as well while moving around. That's neat, I guess. But it's not that big of a deal. He does have a fairly large projectile that does eat a lot of the screen, but it does have to be charged, right? So it's certainly always going to lose to a beam equivalent or something like that. So his ability just to control the screen by himself is fairly low. You have a lot of things, you know, look, oh, you can have lightning to dissuade people from coming in, but lightning is super dashable. You can just homing right through it, no big deal. So there's very little to dissuade people just from running up on him, which is one of the bigger problems he has. And the problem with this specifically for Zamasu is there's no easy fix. Like if you want to double down on his strengths, like say, you know, like TK Flight into like whatever mix up, like that could easily be busted if you make that a little bit better, right? You could say, oh, hey, lightning, you just make that a beam or something, right? And that's kind of messed up too, because then all of a sudden it might be too strong, right? The idea of like any kind of balance idea is to make, well, the character balance, not just OP, right? But with that said, here are a couple of ideas I personally have for the character that could just make a little bit better without just making him outright crazy. Because once again, yeah, maybe a little mediocre, maybe he ain't where he needs to be, but he, more than a lot of characters that need some tweaks, you could easily tweak him up too much and then he's an insane threat. So one of the things I would love to see change for Zamasu is when he's in flight, his slicer move here actually is different than the base grounded slicer moves or aerial slicer moves if you're in the air as well. One of the things about it that's pretty big is he has movement control. So on top of just doing the move, you can also hold up or down and he'll go a little bit up, or conversely, he'll go a little bit down, right? And one thing I would love to see from that, without necessarily tweaking the frame data or whatever, is to make it more dramatic. Because as you can see here, he goes down a bit while I'm holding down, but it's not much, right? So we got Broly on the ground here, and I just jump back, and like from roughly this position, I can't hit him at all, right? And I just basically am wasting my time to even try. So something like you can move up or down just more than you currently can. Make it a little bit more of a threat. And maybe if you want to get really crazy while he's doing it, he could deflect basic key blasts or something like that, right? I think that would just make his offense from flight just that much more deadly. The fact that he could definitely reach you when he's at certain heights, when normally right now, like, he cannot interact with you if the height difference is too great. Simply put, if he's this high up, that's it. There's nothing happening. Like, yeah, I could like lightning up or something, but like I can't interact with you in any way, right? Other than hopefully when the angle's right, I can base key blast, which as you can see, when the angle's not right, it ain't working in your favor. And the second you start doing this, you're inviting that super dash to come kick your head in. So just the threat of this, being able to go up or down more while you're doing it, I would love it. Now on that exact note, so the EX regular slicer here, and that's aerial or ground, whatever, I would like it to see have the property of the flight version of the slicer. Now what makes the flight version of the slicer really good is you can go directly into Blades of Judgment from this, and it will combo, as you can see here, right? So it does combo, and here's the thing. Regular medium slicer on the ground or in the air does not combo. But the EX version does indeed combo into slicer. And then, you know, you can do like whatever fun stuff, which I dropped because whatever. Because of course I did, but you get the idea, right? So if you could just randomly have that utility of, I'm just going to go for a rando EX slicer from anywhere on the screen, and I can also have some manner of air control on it, like the flight versions, I think that would make that EX so much more valuable and useful, because then, you know, hey, all of a sudden, we're in a very deadly situation if you're corner, because you get, you know, big time comboed, right? Like, so I can do this, threaten from, you know, a decent chunk of the screen away, because it can hit from pretty far away, right? And if I could just slide downwards while doing it, I don't know, maybe I'm just rambling on this bit, I just think that would be very cool, and it would just give him a whole another layer of threat, because going into Blades of Judgment into, you know, whatever given combo, that's really cool. And of course, once again, as we went over, one of the better things about him is there's no additional scaling on double supers, so it could just add a whole another layer to the character. Very small change, but one change I would like to see is Stand M. This has more forward movement. Once again, Season 3 is the neutral season, and other characters like, say, Captain Ginyu, he got a buff to his Stand M, right? Some people got good buffs to, you know, what are normally footsies, screen control buttons, right? For him, if we can find our frame data, so normally it says 12 frame move, right? And it can hit from the round 1 start position, but it hits later in the active frames. Like you see here, it hits on frame 14. So if it could just, you know, just move a little bit further so it hit on the first active frame from the round start position, I think that would be better. You know, the range itself, it can hit from decent far away, but just more forward momentum. It hits faster. And I think that would just be very nice. It's a want, I guess, right? But I think it would be pretty decent for him just to give him a better button to work with in neutral. Another change I would like to see is on the lightning. Now, as we went over earlier in the video, yes, the lightning is indeed super dashable. So, like, you don't got to worry about it, right? You can just go through it. But I don't think it should have beam property necessarily. But if it was, like, say, Jiren and UI Goku's Ki Blast, where it could still stop homing dashes, but it can't overpower beams or nothing, I think that would be fun. It would give them another layer to work with and just make flight a little bit more attractive to flit around and do nothing, right? So in that scenario, if it was like Jiren UI Goku, it still couldn't stop like Broly, tossing eraser balls at you to get you out of the sky, which is fair because I think that's worth it. That's kind of by design. But would definitely dissuade rando super dashes while you're just trying to set up and just go from there, right? So then all of a sudden, if we had this little, all these buffs together, then while I'm doing this, if I set up lightning, you'd be very much dissuaded from super dashing me. And while I'm in this position, then all of a sudden with the buffed movement on the slicers, then I could definitely start some kind of offense. Just even if you blocked it, right? Like slicer into an assist call, block, whatever. Go from there, sure. But yeah, just changes like this can make flight a lot more of an attractive option. And considering this is absolutely the most unique thing about the character, and what nominally, anyway, should be the biggest selling point of the character, hey, just make the stuff around it better, basically, and then Zamasu himself is a better character. Of course, in the end, that is just me spitballing about everything. We obviously have another DLC character coming up. I have no proof, but I think there might be a balance patch coming with it. And I would love to see this character and, some of the other characters we talked about before previously get some buffs. Because, while there is a lot of strong characters in this game, absolutely 100%, there is definitely some people that need a little bit of love. And that all said, my friends, speaking of characters you think need a little bit of love, hey, what characters do you think can just do with a little bit more than what they got? And heck, what do you think about Zamasu? What do you think about some of the stuff discussed in this video? And also, if you'd like to see more videos like this, let me know. Both characters maybe that can use a little bit of love, and maybe some characters, why are they strong and why maybe they should be knocked down a peg. We'll see. But anyways, my friends, that is the end of this video. So thank you very much for watching. Hope this video finds you well. Go out and play some Dragon Ball.